My name is Ryan. I'm one of the peer mentors here. I'm putting out this video just because a lot of you have requested and asking me and how to study for the parasites practical that's coming up soon. And I'm just gonna show you my method, and this is a disclaimer because this method doesn't work with everyone. It worked for me, and I'm just kind of showing you my method and how I actually got through the parasites practical and how I was actually able to memorize these worms that you'll be learning and then putting it out into the practical. So spelling for foremost is probably a lot of people's challenges and concerns, as well as actually memorizing the parasites. So for me, what worked the best for me is learning all the parasites that you've ever learned from the beginning of lecture in order. So, for example, start from the very beginning that you've learned. So, Toxocara canis, Toxocara cati, Toxascaris leonina, Ascaris suum, and start from there. Try to not deviate away from the order. And again, this may not work for everyone. This is a technique that just worked for me. Now, coming over here, and I'll show you some of the things. It's like a little memory trick, or you can think of it as a game. But what I used to do and what I used to teach everyone to do is you first start off by writing the name. So start off with Toxocara canis, Toxocara cati. You can kind of put these guys together, and then Toxascaris leonina, and then Ascaris suum. And then start from here. Start from a starting point. So this is a pretty good starting point of 3. Okay, so now that you wrote it out, try your best to see whether or not you can actually memorize this. So fold the paper over like so, and go ahead and just write those names again. Toxocara cati canis. Just put these guys together because they're the same spelling. Toxascaris leonina, and then Ascaris suum. And you kind of get the point now. So what you're going to keep constantly doing is you're just going to keep adding onto this list and then seeing how much you can actually memorize past this point. So for example, now you're at Ascaris suum, you have Strongyloides, you have Ancylostoma, you have Strongyloides vulgaris, you have Homuncus contortus, and so on and so forth. And you just keep adding onto this list until you're able to actually write out the name and every one of those parasites in order. You're just gonna keep going through an empty sheet of paper and just keep going back through and through. Now, in terms of memorizing anything else in terms of treatment and everything, how I used to do it is basically, this is kind of my little cheat sheet of how I used to memorize all my drugs. What I would do is, using that memory trick, now you're able to write out all the names and memorize them in order. I just take a blank sheet of paper and put it all onto one spot. I'll explain to you what these abbreviations actually mean. So going over here, all these abbreviations are the first letter to all the drugs that are actually associated to this worm. And what I did was take all that first letter and try to see if I could turn it into some sort of word. So for example, like Strongyloides is S-I-T, the I standing for ivermectin, and so on and so forth. You have MLLB, macrolytic lactones, and all that kind of stuff. And you kind of just try to turn them into sort of like an abbreviation, so it turns into a word. And this might be useful for some people. This is how I memorized all the drugs and everything, but give it a shot and see whether or not this works for everything. And also I have this little book over here. You can kind of just go over it, kind of just draw out the egg, what the worm looks like, what is DH host in it, and pathogenesis. So every time you write out all these lists and everything of all these worms, now kind of go back to this book that you've actually so lovingly made for yourself, and kind of just review with yourself like what they are, what they look like, what their pathogenesis are. And if you're able to constantly keep doing this by memory, eventually you'll have a good grasp of the material. And that's kind of all the suggestions I have for you now. Let me know and see if this works. Give me an email if you have any questions or concerns or comments, and let me know. And yeah, that's it. Good luck on your practicals. See you guys around.